Child, Netflix ain't even taking this reunion seriously. Tell me why. Why is we outside? We got live singers. We shooting basketballs in order to determine who gets to keep the ring. Denver, like I started with, and I will end with, what is in the water over there? What are they feeding y'all?
Cash.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lex, and I would greatly appreciate if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the videos out there and it inspires me to keep creating. Also, please hype the videos if you can. Once again, comment section on your mobile device, scroll to the bottom, slide to the right. You have the hype option. If you do not see it there, your account may not have it. If you don't have hype points left for the week, that's okay. Please just engage with the videos in any other way you can. Thank you so much to all of you guys that have been subscribing. Thank you to those of you guys who have been engaging with the content. I'm just so glad to see the algorithm pushing my content again, because I was so sad after I had to take that month off when I had surgery. In any case, this is the last episode of Love is Blind. We are talking about episode 13, the finale, which was a joke. I'm gonna be honest. This is a joke. This is an absolute joke. Y'all want deep dives. I'm probably gonna be laughing the entire time because this whole reunion was an absolute mess. But also, please stay on the channel because we have other content coming out. Right now, I am doing Married at First Sight. It is on Peacock this season. And I know you guys have Peacock because you watch Love Island. So just go ahead, check it out. I've done episodes 1 through 4, and there will be new episodes coming out this weekend. Also, I am going to be doing Squid Game The Challenge, and we have a few other shows that are coming out throughout the year. So please stick around on the channel. Thank you to those of you guys that are supporting. Let's get into this dumpster fire of a reunion. So we start off with Miles Smith. He is singing a live song as everybody walks on into this tree-lined outdoor space that they have. My notes here, KB look good. Okay, KB look good. Beautiful girl. I also thought that Madison looked very well. Like, she looked nice. I did not like her dress though. And last but not least, I think Ed, I loved his matching fit. Okay, I know all the guys, they usually just go normal and they go tux. So I really did like that Ed had that cute matching fit on. It looked nice. So we see the couches and everybody is separated. Okay, ain't nobody sitting together because we have 0 couples this season. Now we go around, we have some pleasantries, but we jump right on into Megan and Jordan because that's really the only tea that there was for this reunion. So they get into why Megan ended things with Jordan before making it to the altar. Megan explains again that she didn't really put a lot of thought into how much their lifestyle changes would actually be.
You know, part of me wishes I would have given it a little more, or given Jordan a little more grace for being able to get there eventually.
Megan does regret maybe ending things so early with Jordan. Maybe she could have possibly given him more grace and more time to get there. But at the end of the day, she's dated potential, and that just isn't something she wanted going into a marriage. Now, I didn't really touch a lot on Jordan's inflexibility in my videos because I felt like it was just so obvious that the two of them were not going to make it. But I definitely don't think that it was on Megan to give Jordan more time. Jordan was also extremely rigid in the things that he wanted. He did not seem very compromising when it came to being more social, when it came to trying to put a little more effort into meeting Megan where she's at in terms of her social caliber or her social life. And while, yes, Jordan is a father, I understand he's not going to be jetting off 5 times a week. It didn't particularly seem like Jordan was even willing to maybe compromise half of a weekend or half of his day. And a lot of the conversation was, I'm tired. I can't do this. There's a lot going on. And it just didn't give that he was really willing to meet her halfway either. They dive into Jordan saying in that confessional that he regretted Megan meeting Luca. Jordan says that he didn't mean it against Megan as a person, but per se, he regretted bringing Luca into this process. And no shade, no tea, okay? I love y'all in the comment section, but some of y'all were trying to fight me down in that last episode saying, well, single parents can date, and, you know, it's okay for a single parent to introduce their kid to someone random. And I'm like, girl, I'm not saying single parents can't date, but this is an accelerated experience. Even Jordan himself realizes he should not have brought his child into this. I do not think Love is Blind is the place for your child to be involved in. And at the minimal least, because I heard that in Love is Blind France, there was someone who had a child who waited until after the wedding to even consider introducing their child. I think if you absolutely must be in this process, which I don't think anybody absolutely must be in this process, but I think if you do, there should not be any meeting of the child until you know this is actually going to go through. And then that is ridiculous because, okay, you're going to get married, your child doesn't even know the person you're married to. It's a lot. That's what I'm saying. I don't feel like single parents or parents in general should be, well, obviously single parents, should not be coming to this show. I know some of y'all, like, yes, I get it that children are introduced to adults all the time. But the reality is those are usually adults that have been vetted by your parents, right? It's not usually a random stranger that they met 2 weeks ago. And I'm sorry, if your parents is introducing you to random strangers they met 2 weeks ago, I don't know. I don't want to talk about anybody's family. But for me and in my life, I was not being introduced to random strangers after a couple of weeks. The adults I was introduced to were all vetted. If I go to the doctor is vetted. If I go to the dentist is vetted. If I'm meeting my mom's friends that are my aunties, these are people that she's been friends with for years. So I don't know. So again, I think it is good that Jordan acknowledged that Luca should not have been a part of this process. And yes, the kid is 5. He's obviously going to forget about Megan. I highly doubt he's going to remember. He's going to be like, oh yeah, it was that random lady I met like one time, that friend that I met one time that I never saw again. I'm not saying that it's going to scar Luca for life or something. Please. I'm just simply saying that this did not feel like the time and place for that baby to be introduced to this lady that Jordan didn't even know. So then they touch on the fact that Megan expressed that she felt like she wasn't ever fit to be a mom in this life because of this experience, and they ask her if she feels that that's still the case. Megan does say no, that at the end of the day, this was a crazy experience, and in that moment, it might have felt that way. But she definitely doesn't feel that way anymore because Megan has a big surprise for us.
I had a baby boy 2.5 months ago.
Holy shit!
Now, this joint was spoiled all over the internet, but Megan does have a baby. She had a baby 2.5 months from when this reunion was filmed. They also state that the experiment was 1.5 years from when this reunion was filmed, multiple times. Now, her partner is here in the audience, and they get into the timeline, because y'all know I was asking about the timeline on the finale episode. So basically, Megan does admit that they got pregnant 3 months into dating. Basically, right after the experiment ended, they were introduced through a mutual friend. And she does say that there has been ups and downs, but they are going through it together, and they could not be happier to be parents. They asked Jordan, did he know about this entire thing? And Jordan does say that he knew because somebody had reached out to him on Instagram. So he then reached out to Megan, and Megan was very transparent about the entire thing. There was no overlap between the relationships, but it did happen very, very quickly. Nobody on the cast knew besides Jordan and Casey, apparently, that Megan was pregnant, and everybody else was kind of like, dang, where's Megan? Where did she go? Allie says that she and Megan were the closest when filming, and she had just went MIA. But they do also touch on the fact that Megan did go on a couple of other dates with a couple of other people. So first off, Mike, he reached out to Jordan and was basically like, hey, I went on a date with Megan. There wasn't really any chemistry there, but I just want to let you know that up front before you find out from someone else. Jordan didn't really care. Megan also went on a date with Blake. But none of these things really went anywhere. Overall, everybody's doing cool. Jordan says that he's went on some very casual dates, but nothing super serious. And of course, Megan is enjoying her little family, and she says that Brooks is her whole world. So good for her if that's the life she wanted. So next up, Casey, Kate, and Patrick, they join the stage, and we get into the Casey and Patrick stuff.
Just to see it was like, it was cool, but not cool, you know, but it was
I
cool.
don't think
Patrick was pretty hurt when he saw the comments that Casey made to the producers about how the attraction wasn't going to grow. It was definitely something for him that was like, cool, but it wasn't really cool. Casey came with the excuses on deck today. I'm sorry. At a certain point, I started tuning her out in this reunion because all she was doing was making excuses. Casey claims that the reason why she did that is because she wanted to protect Patrick. She also tries to claim that for her, she was really serious about the fact that at that present moment, the attraction wasn't going to grow in the time of the experiment to go to the altar, but there was a possibility that down the line it could have grown in their own timeline. I'm like, Casey, miss me with it. Then we get into Ringgate, and basically Casey claims that Patrick told her during the conversation they had that she could keep the ring. Jordan turns around and goes, but like, why would you want to though? And that's my question. That's what I had said. I was like, look, none of y'all really bought this. I know, yes, they can add a stipend on or not a stipend, but they can add their own money to the stipend in order to get whatever nicer ring. But at the end of the day, none of these people bought the original rings. So I was curious too, why you would want to keep it. But in either case, Patrick says that the reason why he told Casey that was because he was under the impression that when they got to Denver, they were going to try. So that's why he was like, okay, cool, you keep it. We're gonna talk. Once they got to Denver, though, she wasn't putting in the effort, or he corrects himself to be like, she wasn't putting in the amount of effort I would have wanted to see. So at that point, I realized this is not gonna work. And respectfully, I told her I wanted to be friends and get the ring back. He dives in deeper and says that Casey did apologize to him, but when he tried to ask her to explain her side of the story would constantly change. When talking about her feelings, she didn't really want to answer. And so it just got to a point where it was frustrating. And it's like, yeah, like, why are we even doing this? Girl, she didn't like him. She didn't like him. There's no more to it. Why are we even going so deep into this? We all knew she didn't like that man. By that point, though, they were trying to figure out what was happening, especially because the hoedown was coming up and they were all supposed to be there. And so that's why they wanted to have that clarification conversation of what are we, what are we, what are we? But at that point, they were both like, we didn't even care anymore. I guess Patrick made some what's up ex-wifey comment at the hoedown, which pissed off Casey. And she felt like it wasn't the time and place. I'm like, girl, please. Girl, please. But Patrick basically goes into like, why are you making so many excuses? Why can't you just apologize? At this point, I'm gonna be real. I want you to do this for yourself. I want you to do this to clear your image, because I do care about the fact that people are tearing you up online. And of course, y'all know I stand by, y'all are fucking lunatics if you, excuse my French, y'all are lunatics if you go in these people's inboxes and tell them to off themselves and things like that. That's crazy. You should not be bullying cast members on a television show. Like, the parasocial nature of some of this stuff is unhinged. But Casey's like, do you really care? Because you definitely sent me a TikTok about me being the second option or like the side chick or something like that. And Casey tries to fall into the like, I was a distant second. You didn't really want me. I'm like, oh girl, you've been watching the recaps. You've been watching the recaps on YouTube because all we We all on here were saying that, but Casey, stop it. You know dang well that that shit doesn't hurt your feelings. I don't know why I'm cussing so much in these videos today. I'm sorry. But you know that that does not hurt your feelings, Casey. I am tired of it, girl. Just be honest. You didn't like the man. It's okay. It's okay. I don't feel like people need to be going at her this hard because at the end, she didn't like the man. That's it. Point blank, period. She didn't like him. It's over. Give the man back the ring or give the ring to production or whoever. But Casey does bring the ring and she does give it back to Patrick. We then find out that Chris Paul, basketball player, huge fan of Love is Blind, is here to finally settle the score on who is going to get this ring back. They basically do whoever shoots the best out of 3 or whatever. And it turns out that actually Casey wins this ring back. I'm tired. I don't want to ever hear about this ring again. I really don't. Next. So Casey's not done, yo. We find out that Casey and Joe went on dates for about a month and a half, and Madison is on that couch chuckling. When I tell you Madison, she was on fire this reunion. Madison had a lot to say.
To get to the aisle. I didn't know if it couldn't grow like back at our own timeline.
Jordan, I see.
Okay.
I don't think either of us were ready to. We just came off this thing where we both had told other people we loved each other.
Okay, so I guess Madison watched the show back and it was a lot for her. It was a lot for her. Both Casey and Joe, though, they basically say that it ended because they were not ready for something serious, yada, yada, whatever. Madison chimes in and she's basically like, well, I feel like you guys' connection had something to do with our engagement. And I'm like,
He has 2 paws on Joe's chest. In your words that night, you said, Casey was giving me googly eyes.
Madison, no, girl, he just ain't like you. You were doing a lot, Madison. And I'm not even sitting here trying to defend Joe because I feel like Joe, we already talked about Joe during the season, but girl, you are not innocent. Like, look at how you're acting now. You are fired up about some stuff that happened a year ago. A year ago, you're sitting on the couch chuckling, making all kinds of faces. It's giving petty, Madison. It's giving childish. No. She basically explains that they had the tux and dress fitting that day, and she was telling everybody how much she loves Joe. And then they all went out that night as a group. So she says she had absolutely no idea everything that happened at the tux fitting at that time, that Joe had stormed out, drove away. But when they all went out that night, she had 2 paws on him. She claims Casey had 2 paws. I don't know why she calls her hands paws, but she keeps saying she had 2 paws on him and was all over him, flirting and doing the most. So she then says that when Joe talked about it, Joe talked about the fact that she was making googly eyes at him all night. Madison, go see the lady. Go see the lady. Go see the lady, because this is a lot. I was with Joe. Joe literally chimes in and he's like, I want to be honest, I don't know all this stuff about googly eyes, but that's not the reason we broke up. And I'm with Joe on that one. That is not the reason y'all broke up, Madison. Go see the lady. Go see her expeditiously. Then get into this pool party, and Madison claims that Casey came up to her and said they were Eskimo sisters at the party, which she felt like was super inappropriate. And Casey was like, that conversation didn't even go like you said it did. Like, honestly, I thought we had a pretty good conversation about things. I thought we were able to get things on the table, and now you're here acting like I attacked you. That I'll give it. I think that was probably the only time in this reunion Casey was telling the truth. Seriously, Madison seemed like she came with an agenda, and girl, it didn't look good. Okay, we not on your side. Still, we are not. I am sorry, we are not. Why you got me defending Joe out here and Casey? Joe clarifies, though, that none of these relationships overlapped between when he was with Casey, between when he was with his current girlfriend Avery, and between when he was with Madison. And he says that even his current girlfriend Avery, who we saw in that interview that she did before the season was even over, I don't know why everybody was able to do interviews before the season is over, but she did say that, or he says that she did not want to date him at first. They were back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then finally, she agreed to actually be with him. After the experiment, Madison and Joe, they did try. They went to go get drinks, and then they got into an argument, according to Joe. Madison's like, no, that's not what happened at all. Honestly, we actually went back to my car, we made out, and then you start bursting into tears. And I'm like, what's wrong with these people? Joe's like, well, yeah, the emotions were still raw. I mean, I guess I shouldn't have made out with you. That's true. Joe had me cracking up. Joe and what's the old boy's name that was with Megan? Jordan. They had me cracking up this entire reunion. Because this is a joke. So I'm with them. They're just laughing and cracking jokes because that's all this is a big joke. We get a little bit about Nick and Kate, but essentially Nick tried to apologize to her. I don't know, God. Doesn't matter. None of these people are together. Doesn't matter, but they apologize to each other, I believe is what happened. Then we get into Annie and Nick. And, excuse me, Nick and Vanessa, they ask, why did you tell Nick no when he tried to break up with you?
Where I know I can make something work, but this would have taken two people to make it work, and I couldn't do it by myself.
Yeah.
Now, Annie claims that she kept chasing the feeling of being in the pods and that she realized she was the one that was actually holding up the entire relationship. Nick don't say much. He like, all right, two wigs. Like, he does not say much at all. And you know what? That's the way to go, Nick. Just keep it quiet, all right? There ain't no reason to even get into it. But they do get into the stuff that Joe said at the hoedown about Nick. Basically, Joe does explain, though, that the two of them have hashed it out. He texted him and said sorry. Watching it back, he was like, what the heck? I think Nick has a good heart. Again, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Nick says he doesn't have any hard feelings about it, and it's all fine. We get to Allie and Anton.
No, I don't remember what happened, if we went home late, or maybe Anton has some insight on, what happened that night.
And we basically talk about how the night shifts made it really, really challenging to have conversations about anything. And in general, Allie claims that for her, she felt like having any kind of deep conversation with Anton was really, really difficult. Anton essentially says, hey, look, I'm gonna be honest, there's sometimes I just want to come home. I want to have a beer at the time, he says, okay, and go to sleep. So for him, he doesn't feel like there needs to be a deep philosophical conversation all of the time. Allie kind of chimes back and is like, yeah, but I feel like even the conversations we had in the pods, it just was never there. That guy was never there outside the pods. A lot of the things we talked about, it just never seemed to connect those conversations I had there versus the conversations we had here. Yeah, y'all just ain't a match. It's okay. Then they discussed the conversations that Allie and her friends were having about Anton's monetary situation. And Allie essentially explains that her one friend that was making a lot of those comments is from Ukraine, where men are expected to provide. And she says also that Anton, being from, is he from Russia? Sorry if I'm wrong. He's from Russia. And then Allie, also being from Brazil, basically all of them share this ideology that men are supposed to be providers. But she clarifies that she was not planning to be a stay-at-home mom or fiance or whatever. She just simply needed the support while she was in school. We pan over to Anton, and he does let us know that he has been in a relationship for about a year. We do see his girlfriend over in the audience. And then they ask Allie, hey, are you seeing anyone? And Allie's like, I know that you want me to be open about my personal life right now, but I would like to keep it private. And it's like, okay, girl, it's a yes or no answer. If you don't want to answer if you're dating someone, we don't care, girl. We don't care that much. And we end off with KB and Edmund. So KB clarifies that they were not just trauma bonding in the pods, but that they were actually best friends. They would sing, they would have banter. Okay, I mean, the show doesn't show a lot, so sure. But in either case, for her, it was extremely manipulative the way that Edmund would constantly cry and weaponize his tears.
I'm done crying. And I was like, okay, cool. But then he became kind of like a butthole. So the tears went away, but then he became like a butthole in a sense. And it was just like, okay, like.
She goes into a lot how Edmund was completely different off camera and that it is proven that he was manipulative because one day he was like, all right, I'm gonna stop crying now. And then he just became a jerk. So she goes on to explain how Edmund was extremely dismissive off camera, and that would be the reason that on camera we would see her be the way she is. And I believe it. Look, I'm not saying that I think KB or Edmund, like Edmund didn't really say much, so I don't know, but I believe KB. I really do. I know people like this. I've been in a situation like this as well with somebody who like in front of people, like we were in front of friends, if we were in front of family, they had a totally different attitude. Everybody, oh, that's the nice guy. He's so sweet. He's so funny. He's so this. But behind the scenes, yes, I could definitely understand being dismissive, being rude, not being attentive. So I believe KB when she says that. I forgot to mention, KB had her piece of paper, by the way. KB wanted to make sure she had her bullet points ready. But anywho, KB goes on and says there are times in the apartment that she would be crying and Ed would simply just walk away. So Ed claims that this switch up was basically because he was speaking from his heart. He loves her so much. Take a shot every time Ed says he loves KB. But anyways, he says that because she interpreted it as manipulation, he didn't want to be that way. So he was trying to show her, nah, I'm not being manipulative. I'm not being manipulative. I don't want you to do that. I guess that's what the switch up was all about. I guess. So KB claims that she pulled Ed aside off camera and was like, hey, can you stop doing things that make me really angry, that make me really hurt off camera? Because then when the cameras come on, I look angry. I look like the angry Black woman, and that's a stereotype, and I hate that. And you know what? I do feel for KB in that moment. If it is really true the way she's telling it, which again, I kind of believe her, you know, I do. If it's true that, yes, this guy is doing things to get under your skin, he's being dismissive, he's not acting the way that we see on camera, then I can understand that frustration that KB gets to be the one that looks like a big bad bully while Edmund gets to sit down and look like, oh, you know, every single person in their mama is trying to diagnose this man and infantilize him because of their perceived diagnosis. So I do get that frustration and that hurt. And to be honest, I'm glad. Calabria, say that, sis. Say that. Tell us everything. Ed responds again.
Said, I don't want to be late. Once we're married as a partner, it's we.
I know, but KB, look, I chose KB every single day. I loved KB.
I loved KB. I loved KB down. I tried to love her. I tried to respect her. He's doing exactly what she's talking about, by the way, the whole love bombing thing. Like, anytime you're called out, I loved you, I love you, I love you, I love you. He said even sometimes she'd be PMSing and I would try to be there for her and give her her space. And I'm like, child, what are we doing, Edmund? What are we doing? KB keeps going in and she's like, look, you would be on your hands and knees crying sometimes when I would try to call you out. And Ed's like, on my hands and knees crying. What are you talking about? KB's like, let me tell the story. So we were moving into the shared apartment and we were in line and someone said, you're being obnoxious. So when we got back to the apartment and you told me, someone told me I'm obnoxious. Someone told me I'm obnoxious. I told you, maybe, babe, you are. Like, you're being a little bit loud. You're doing things that upset people. And instead of hearing that out, you just broke down crying, talk about, I love you, KB. I love you. And you know, again, I was like, I can see this happening. It sounds like a true story. It really does. KB brings up some other incidents that happened and Ed fiends not remembering any of them. And if there's one thing I hate more than anything is weaponized incompetence. I hate people who say, I don't remember this, I don't remember. You don't remember nothing? Where were you? Where are you? Earth to Edmund, Earth to Eddie. I hate when people do this, so I can definitely understand. And you know what? I will give it to KB. She kept her composure on this stage. I really liked how she didn't let this get under her skin too bad. She kept her composure. She was looking beautiful. I'm proud of KB. I loved how she handled this reunion, in my honest opinion. KB says that she got very emotional watching the show back and seeing the pods because she did love Edmund and she didn't really remember why she fell for him in the first place because all she could remember was the bad stuff and the trauma. So it was really hard for her as the story went on to remember what attracted to her in the first place. Now, this is where I'm like, I don't know, KB. But she claims, at least, that she really did fall in love with this man. She really did like this man. And okay, if you're just talking about the pod section, I could believe that. Because KB does say something like, you have to remember, I couldn't see body language. I couldn't see him like on the floor crying and doing all this crazy stuff that y'all saw. But Ed says he always loved her. He never had anything bad to say about her. He still loves her. And the two of them get up and hug it out. He says he found a great woman in her in this experience. And that's it, y'all. That's all she wrote. We get a little ending scene of Anton in flip-flops because Allie says jokingly one of the things that turned her off about Anton immediately was the fact that he wore flip-flops in their vacation in Mexico. So they actually show that scene. That is a wrap on season 9, Love is Blind in Denver. If you made it to this point of the video, that means you liked the video. So I would greatly appreciate if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing, and also hyping up the videos. Thank you guys for watching this whole season and engaging with the content. We are still on the road to 10K and we are that much closer. You guys brought in almost 500 new subscribers for me throughout the season, which, hey, I'm a tiny channel, so that is a lot for me. Thank you guys so much to all of you guys that have come in. I really appreciate it. I am still recapping Married at First Sight, which is on Netflix. Not Netflix, Peacock. Wow, words. Married at First Sight is on Peacock. I am recapping it. And also we have Squid Game The Challenge coming up. So thank you guys. I will talk to you guys in my next one.